asking you, what will you bring to the Yale PA program?
Well, I'm somebody that is very energetic. So I would bring, perspective and energy from my time working in research and in a bone marrow transplant floor, and seeing a lot of the different aspects of medicine into the class and be able to share my experience. I would also bring reliability. I'm somebody that people tend to rely on when they have an issue or a problem. They know I'm always going to respond to them. And lastly, I would bring, my research experience. I think that's something unique that I have for many years of basic science research and genetics, that I understand, how clinical trials work, and I understand how important, evidence-based medicine is. And I feel like that's something I could bring to your program.
Okay. How do you keep up? Go ahead.
So that's something of which I would have said back in the day, right?
Okay.
But if I were to say that, if I were counseling somebody, what I would say is, and I sort of did this in a brief way, but if I were answering this question, I would answer it by saying your top 3 qualities that people think that you feel are your strongest qualities. So, and if you're having trouble knowing what that is, think about what are the top 3 things that your colleagues would say about you? What are the top 3 things your friends and family would say about you? Okay. And try to stay away from words like compassionate and things like that are sort of overused. They want to know why you, right? Mm-hmm. So if I could go back and say, why me, I would say something like, I'm a very committed individual. It took me many years to make the decision to want to become a PA. But since I made that decision, I have gained so much amazing experience working as a patient care tech on a bone marrow transplant floor. It has completely transformed the way I view medical providers and the practice of medicine. And I feel like I will bring those experiences with me into this PA program. Secondly, I'm more mature and a little bit more professional. I have been working for 3 years since I graduated from college and have been able to gain a lot of different perspective on how to communicate with people in a professional manner, whether that's nurses, doctors, students, anything like that. And so I would bring that level of maturity and professionalism in with me into a PA program. And lastly, I'm someone that just likes to be energetic and have fun. And I love to make people laugh. And I feel like I could provide some great comic relief for the class when things get really stressful and really tense, as I know it's going to be over the course of the years. I feel like, always making people laugh and putting a smile on someone's face can always ease that tension. And I'm sure I could be that, for my classmates. So I'm super excited for the opportunity to be part of your program, period. Right? So there's kind of 2 different ways to work with that. But anytime you can provide an example of what you're saying, just always supports that,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. So, I guess my next question would be, let me see. Okay. How have you grown as a PA now, since when you've started? I loved how honest you were, and I totally got what you meant. Were you kind of, I call it getting kind of an autopilot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you kind of called it, you called it compassion fatigue.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I loved the way you explained it on your podcast, the Beyond the Scope podcast. I love it.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah. So
how do you, you probably felt exhausted when you graduated from PA school, but then you're excited. And then how long does it take you to get into your rhythm? And then you're like, but wait, this isn't my forever job because I just graduated, and then, and so forth.
Yeah. It took me a couple of months, to really feel like I was in the zone of being a practicing PA. I would say 3 months before I was like, okay, 6 months before I was like, okay. And then, 9 months before I'm like, I think I got this. And now I have to leave. Right. So, I mean, I think it's kind of like that trajectory kind of happened, but the learning curve is so huge that you have to, sort of rely on other people around you to help guide you, nurses, doctors, other PAs, NPs, things like that. The nice thing is you're never really alone. So ask questions and, say, I mean, unless you're out in the rural community and things like that, where you may not have that much access, but there's a lot of resources online that you can use and all of that. And so the learning curve is pretty big, and it does require you to do, research and investigate things when you're not on the clock and you're like, oh, I got to go back and read that again, or I'm going to look on Up to Date for this tonight or whatever. So it does take a lot of self-directed learning in the beginning. And then when I switched to oncology, it was like, my first job was internal medicine, and I felt prepared pretty much, going into that. But going into oncology was a huge, huge learning curve. And so, just really immersing myself in learning materials, conferences, asking the doctors questions, observing the doctors, the oncology nurses, the infusion people, just kind of learning all about the different things, and really trying to find, what my role was there. And not only that, but also, really learn how to take care of this patient population, which is hard to do. And, after a while, you're like, this is like, I'm exhausted of this. I'm sick of seeing sick people. I mean, really, I mean, I'm sick of giving bad news, or I'm frustrated because this person won't do what I want them to do, or I'm frustrated because I need to get this many RVUs to meet my billing target. And I feel like I'm working like crazy. And there's a lot of things that go into that. And so I feel like, it's really about recognizing that you're in that place, and then figuring out a way to get out of that place.
Yeah.
So, I think I was kind of pushing up against that for a while. And then at one point it was just, and even when I start feeling like that now, I find something else that's going to kind of break that cycle. And, whether that's talking to somebody professionally, whether that's venting to the doctor I work with, whether that's, just getting out of my own head in one way or another. But it does happen, and it will happen in your career. It's just nature of working in healthcare.
Okay. So I love that answer. So for PA programs, are we going back into in-person interviews?
Some people are.
Okay.
I have heard some programs are. There are still a lot of virtual though.
Okay. Because that's what makes me nervous. When you were talking with Eric on your podcast, he was saying, I think it was like 1993, he had to fly to the East Coast.
Yeah.
Well, with everything, and, you could be lucky that someone may not be able to go. Therefore, it opens up a seat, or it opens.
And you may have to fly out there in like 2 days.
But then now I feel like people are like, well, we're going to get awesome applicants now. We're going to have more interviews because we can do it virtually, and more people can, we can interview them. But then do you think spots are going to be harder?
I think that they're not necessarily interviewing more people. I think the programs have their kind of max that they interview every year. And most programs have that structure already in place. Like maybe they'll take a couple of extra. It's just that the number of candidates has gone up.
Yes.
So it's just a higher volume for the same number of seats. And there are more programs, so that helps. But, it's just the volume of applicants, for the number of programs and seats. And so, a lot of programs don't change the number of students they take per year ever. So.
Okay. Yeah. We'll just close up, but can you please tell us about My PA Box?
Yeah. My PA Box is a resource that was developed by 2 PAs to help you narrow down your school selection.
Mhm.
So I am not somebody that likes paper. I've never been this person, but there's a manual of PA programs that comes out every year, and it's this big, and you can go through all the programs, highlight things, make an Excel spreadsheet, go to their website, if that's the type of process that works for you.
Okay.
I am more of a tech person, and I like to type things in and have them figure it out for me. And so basically what this does is you can, one, enter in all your grades, and it'll project your CASPA GPA, science GPA, and cumulative CASPA. Okay, so that's really helpful because you do not want to be surprised when CASPA calculates your GPA. The second thing you can do is you can track things in there if you want to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. The most valuable tool is the school match. You can narrow down by state. You can put in your GPAs. You can put in the amount of patient care hours you have. You can filter out by, I'm not taking the GRE, I'm not taking the PA CAT, or I am taking those. So you can like filter in and out. Obviously, the more things you keep in there, the larger number of schools are going to be there. So you want to try to filter down, as much as you can. And then you can even choose by accreditation, like, oh, I only want continued, or, oh, I only want provisional, or whatever. You can filter by classes. So say you didn't take organic chemistry, you exclude organic chemistry. So all the programs that then populate for you will have prerequisites that don't require organic chemistry. And then you can click, once you're done, and let's say you have 10 schools, you can click on each program and you can see if they're rolling admissions, if they're non-rolling, what their deadline is. A lot of them will have their class profile from last year. You can review the prereqs when they expire. Make sure you fit their profile. You can even click right through to their website to double check everything if you want to. It tends to be pretty up to date, but with COVID, I would just double check sometimes. But it's just a nice tool to be able to narrow down schools that would fit your profile.
Okay. And do you have a lot more podcasts coming out?
So I have a couple, coming up. I have one with a woman who is a non-traditional student who's coming out with a course about how to learn and go back to school, as a non-traditional student to try to be in this profession. I'm hoping to have another one with, I don't know if you guys follow Mike Sachs. He's the family med PA. I want to get him on to talk about the name change and the impact of that on law.
But
yeah. And then I'm having another, I'm going to talk to him tomorrow. I don't know exactly what he wants to talk about yet, so I don't know. I'm trying to get Dave on. And then I'll probably do a couple of more solo, ones, just talking about certain issues or things that people want to talk about. Mm-hmm. And then really anybody that you guys think I should have on, I'm happy to reach out to and ask to be on.
You're so amazing. My jaw literally dropped when I was listening to you, and you're like, so yeah, just text me. Here's my number.
Yeah, text me. I have a text community.
I go, of course she would. I'm like, you are just so awesome. I'm like,
the text community is nice because I can't get to DMs like on all these platforms, but the text community is good because it's all in one place and I can go there once a day and, answer people's messages. It is me. It's not a bot, so it's nice to have that option for people.
Perfect. Well, I'm really hoping that Kelsey we'll reach out to you. Hopefully we can put something on the books maybe for next semester.
Sure.
And we would love for you to, I'm not sure what Kelsey wants to do for her format. I decided to do uploading to YouTube.
Okay.
And I created this website, and then, I hope you're okay with it if I have some of your content. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's basically just blogging. Like everything's nonprofit. And everything is school related. And I just appreciate you meeting me today. You're
awesome. Welcome. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Have a good one.
You too.
All right. Bye.
Bye.